From the meditations of Reverend Marta Valentin. Be still with me and enter into the crescent fold of my arm as I gather you to this time and space. Wind your thoughts like a river toward the center of who we are. This morning as one body and out among others in the world. Be still with me and enter into this celebration of resilience and resurrection. For we are vessels eternally rising out of the water, alive, with a purpose and strength unknown to us. Be still with me and enter quietly into this place of unbound love and gratitude. Come, let us worship together. Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge. We are so glad to have you with us and with each other in this virtual worship service. I am Leslie Runnels, your ministerial intern, and this congregation is served by Reverend Nathan Ryan and Reverend Eric Poza. We're also grateful to have Kathy Smith, our Director of Family Ministries, who's also running chat. And with me today in the sanctuary, we have Lee Hartman and Mike Patton, sorry. This has been a week here in Baton Rouge and in Louisiana. If you are craving more community, please check out the weekly bulletins or the website for more information on ways to connect so that your social, spiritual, emotional, and intellectual needs are met. And here is a message from our senior minister, Reverend Nathan Ryan.
So I'm filming this Thursday afternoon. As of right now, we know of 12 members of the church who experienced some water in the water event that we had Tuesday. So flooding, some people had a few inches, some people lost a car, some people had feet, 2 or 3 feet in their house and had to evacuate. If you are able to volunteer, please let us know. If you flooded, please let us know. If you are re-traumatized by this, please let us know. 2016 was only 5 years ago. And if you are fine, you're fine. But if you got flooded, you may not be fine. And if this is bringing up old stuff, you may not be fine. So I just wanted to point out to you that we know that this is a hard time. We as a church are going to get through this together, again. And I keep going back to what Steve said in 16. For those of you who don't know, Steve is now our minister emeritus. And after the 16 floods, He very vehemently got up and he said, stop saying it's just things. It's not just things. So the things that you chose that you lost to connect you to the world. I've thought about that a lot. For those of you who lost things, the things that you chose, this is a big deal. Please reach out. Please take the space you need. We'll get through it.
Good morning. This morning I want to tell you my very favorite children's story from the perspective of a little boy, maybe 5 years old, who has 2 older brothers and a really rough day. It's called Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day by Judith Viorst. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair, and when I got out of bed, I tripped over the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running, and I could tell. It is going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box, and Nick found an undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box, and in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'm moving to Australia. In the carpool lane, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window too, and I said, I'm being scrunched. I said, I'm being smushed. I said, I'm gonna get car sick if I don't have a seat by the window. And no one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invisible castle. She said, singing time I sang too loud, and at counting time I forgot 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend and Albert Mayo was his second best friend and I was his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a strawberry double-decker ice cream cone, the ice cream part falls off from the cone part and lands in Australia. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch. Albert got a little Hershey's bar with almonds in it. Paul's mom gave him a piece of jelly roll with little coconut sprinkles on top, and guess whose mother forgot to pack dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. That's what it was, because after school we went to the dentist and Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. Come back next week and we'll fix it, he said. Next week, I said, I'm moving to Australia. On the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot, and while we were waiting for my mom to go get the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy, and when I started crying because of the mud, Nick said I was a crybaby, and when I was punching Nick for calling me crybaby, my mom came back with the car, and I got in trouble for being muddy and fighting. I am having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, I told everybody. Nobody even answered. So then, we went to the shoe store to buy some shoes. Anthony chose white ones with red stripes. Nick chose blue ones with white stripes. I chose red ones with blue stripes, but the shoe man said we're all sold out, and they made me buy plain white sneakers, but they can't make me wear them. When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with his copy machine, but I forgot. He also said be careful of the books on his desk, and I was really careful, except for my elbow. He also said don't play with his phone, and I think I called Australia. My dad said, please don't pick me up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, awful, no good, very bad day. There were lima beans for dinner, and I hate lima beans. There was kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes. My marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas, and I hate my railroad train pajamas. When I went to bed, Nick took back the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out, and I bit my tongue, and the cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not with me. It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mother says some days are like that, even in Australia.
This congregation has a ritual of placing stones around our chalice to lift up and hold beloveds in our community who need extra care right now. I lift up to you Rick Webb, who has been hospitalized in Lake Charles for a week, and Kathy Hansen, who is recovering from ankle surgery. We also lift up and hold in love and support those of you in across the region who have been impacted by the floodwaters. Please join us now if you would like to enter in a name into the chat, or you can place an asterisk to symbolize a stone, and I will place the stones for you. Please join us in the words of our chalice lighting. With hope to build a better world, we light this chalice. Its light is a symbol of the power of love. Hello, dear ones. I was well into planning this worship service of liberation and relationships. Lee and I had chosen the best possible hymns to weave through the service. I had picked the perfect reading, chosen lots of art for the interlude, and was even halfway through the sermon-y bits, feeling like I was on my way. And then the waters came, inching up in Baton Rouge, and we looked at a forecast of more days of rain. Reverend Nathan began checking in with y'all to find out how you were doing. We have a new database software that is used by a lot of churches, and Nathan was able to view all of the households on a map of Baton Rouge and then compare that to the reported flooding, so that he knew where to start. He then met with Mijai Thompson, and they decided to contact the 40 people they had identified, and each of those 40 people would then check in with 10 others. That way, all 400 plus members of the congregation could be called to assess any damage and listen for any pastoral needs. You know, the old style phone tree was called into being. And Reverends Eric and Nathan counseled me on how to let go of what I had carefully planned, to make space for me to listen to what you might be needing on this particular Sunday. I hope that each of you find at least one thing, maybe two, in this hour of worship that provides you what you need as you get ready for another week. The building is fine, no flooding, and there is some wonderful work being done to prepare the building for reopening. You will hear much more about that later in the service. As Nathan shared in that earlier video, we know that at least 12 of you had floodwaters on your property. And we send our love to those of you who are now navigating the repair process. And the waters weren't confined to Baton Rouge. We know our neighbors in Lake Charles also had standing water in their homes. in a city that is still slowly rebuilding from the last time. We don't have to have floodwaters in our homes to be negatively impacted by flooding around us. When our neighbors are hurting, so are we. Whether we have lived through 1 or 2 or 10 flood events, hearing that waters are rising or have risen can link us back to those traumatic events. Even if we have not once, not ever, had to deal with floodwaters, we still can empathize with what that experience might be like. This nation, and certainly this southern region, has experienced many, many flood events that are nationally televised, so it will be hard not to have some appreciation for how scary it might be, for how we might be too exhausted from a global pandemic to then have to deal with one more thing. But we don't get to pick what we have to deal with, as life brings what life brings, whether we are ready for one more thing or not. But we do get to decide what spiritual practices we will polish off to help us move through it. It seems to me over here in New Orleans that flash flooding is a much more common event than I remember. I'm used to preparing for hurricanes and for being prepared that flooding might happen. But you there in Baton Rouge also know fully well that the flood can come on any given Tuesday, as it did this week. I send you love as you deal with this one more thing. Whether you were flooded or not, we are all here together, that we stand with each other, loving and supporting as we rebuild. And please reach out if you need help. This is why we worship together in community, that we can be there to support each other's needs when life brings us one more thing. Sometimes one more thing seems like it will be what puts us over the top, the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back. And it can feel like it at the time. No more, please. I know in my own experience that I've had many one more things at times when I just couldn't. And sinking into despair or hopelessness was ever present. I might sit there for a bit, and that's okay. Sitting in grief or frustration is a good way to recognize what the soul and body need in that moment. And then I can move on and start planning what I need to do. And that often includes reaching out to family, to friends, to plumbers, to insurance agents, and taking time to do a little spiritual practice of gratitude for the people and gifts I have in my life that help me get through these times when one more thing seems like just too much. Because life does indeed call us on, bringing gifts, bringing struggle, reinforcing our need for each other, for our need to be in right relationship with each other, that we can trust each other to call upon them when we need them most. And they will help us carry on.
Take courage, friends.
The
way is often hard.
The path is never clear.
And the stakes are very high.
Take courage.
For deep down,
There is another truth.
You are not alone.
Here in reverence now we gather for the blessings we have known, with the pledge to one another that we journey not alone. Joy and sorrow make us wise, kin to all that lives and dies. Love calls us on. Love calls us on. Words and deeds of those before us, waken here to keep us strong. Blend our voices in the chorus of creation's living song. Courage bids us lift our eyes upwards to the shining skies. Hope calls us on. Hope calls us on. Calls us on.
Take courage, friends.
Take courage, friends.
Take courage, friends.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
you are not alone.
Loyal guides in love and duty, lead us with a trusted light. Blessed are they whose inward beauty shows the path So I'm never sure how to tell people to get through hard things. I think one of the ways we do it is just keep doing the next thing, and sooner or later the hard thing becomes less hard. So about 15 years ago, I was head over heels in love. She was beautiful and funny and smart and loved me right back. And about a year into our relationship, with no real warning, she broke it off because it wasn't the right fit for her. I was absolutely heartbroken. I was so grateful for the friend who took me out to dinner every night, even though all I could get down was chicken soup, or for my other friend who was at Star Island, a UU camp that summer, and called me every afternoon just to check in after programming was over, even though she hates talking on the phone. And for my other friend who lived 4 states away and promised to call me every 2 hours, and did, to see how my packing was going. Did I mention that I was in the middle of moving, just days away from moving from Maryland to Texas? For me, one of the ways to get through hard things, to keep putting one foot in front of the other, is to rely on relationship, which I think of as the human face of the web of existence of which we are all a part.
This morning's meditation is actually about rain. I offer it up to you because we can't be afraid of the rain. The rain is critical to the functioning of this planet. So I offer it to you in the healing hope that this meditation brings you peace. Now, take a few deep breaths to come into the presence of yourself. Imagine now that you are standing in the rain, a rain heavy enough to soak your clothes. Feel the rain on your body. Celtic mystic and theologian John O'Donohue says that the soul is outside of the body. We usually think of the soul being inside the body, but imagine now that your soul is outside and all around your body. Imagine that the rain is touching your soul. The rain is washing your soul. What is the rain washing off of your soul right now? What is the rain carrying away from you and your soul? What is the rain helping your soul to let go of? Returning now back into your body, back into this worship service, away from the rain, and back into community. Please join together for a moment of collective prayer. Spirit of life, love, and liberation, we are feeling tender right now, facing more rebuilding on top of rebuilding we weren't quite done with yet. We are in need of hope, and we welcome the gentle reminders that we actually have the strength that we need to get through this and each next thing that will come. It is our faith in love that binds us to each other, reminds us that we are not alone, reminds us that our strength is in our connection to each other and to you, Spirit. We are woven together through joy and pain. When our hearts are breaking, when despair numbs our souls, we return to the light of our faith, remembering that we have a purpose here to worship together and grow in our faith, that we bring justice and comfort to a world in pain. This congregation is a living, breathing embodiment of righteous love, who right now might be feeling a little wounded and insecure as we reckon with nature and her mighty forces. But our vision is clear. We are not lost, but indeed we are on our way, collecting each soul along the way to a world of collective liberation. So may it be, Spirit. Ashe, Amen, and blessed be. In seminary school, preparing for clinical pastoral education, which I will be taking this summer at Ochsner Clinic in New Orleans. This is where I will be learning about chaplaincy and pastoral care. And I'm learning a little bit about trauma, about how people and congregations cope when things happen. What things work? What strategies do we use? What practices are the ones to call on when you need them? What works and what doesn't work? How do we know signs of when something might be getting ready to go really wrong? And how do we correct for that? One of the things that I've learned is that our brains, who are running on overtime when they are in trauma and when we are in trauma, our brains need a little brain buster, something to interrupt that constant narrative of fear or frustration or hopelessness. I was wondering what to do to help with that, to give a little brain buster, a little brain break. And I noticed on Facebook that comedian Paula Poundstone put out a call for stories about weird eating habits. Some of them are indeed weird. Some sound pretty good, and some are just too darn funny. Here are some I selected to share with you to give your brain a little break. Helen says, I bite the ends off black licorice to make it into a straw for sipping milk. Then I eat the licorice. Marcy says, I must have peas in my mac and cheese. Must. I also add soy sauce to my tea. Pure joy. I also love peas in my mac and cheese. I call it shells and peas and cheese. Michelle Johnson likes to eat popcorn with a piece of dark chocolate melting in her cheek. Brandy shares two things. A sandwich I like is crunchy peanut butter, sliced cucumber, and lettuce on multigrain bread. It's both hearty and refreshing. I have an uncle who pours buttermilk over a bowl of Fritos and eats it like cereal. And here's how Jan eats soup. I eat soup in order. First, the chunks of veggies, peas, then green beans, then carrots, then corn, then potatoes. Second, whatever meat is in the soup. Third, pasta or grain, if any. And fourth, drink the soup that's left. Sounds logical to me. Donna says, I love animal crackers, but I have been told I am weird as to how I eat them. and I've eaten them this way since I was a kid, and I'm a week shy of 61. First, you bite the heads off. That way they don't feel the rest of their appendages being eaten. After the head is the tail, if that particular animal cracker has a tail. And then one limb at a time until all that is left is the body. And then I eat it. Teresa loves double stuffed Oreos. Stale. She buys a package, opens it up, lets it sit out for a few days for them to get nice and soft. Marty eats Jell-O toast. That's dry Jell-O powder sprinkled on butter toast. Kind of like cinnamon toast, but with Jell-O instead. Karen shares that we do not put gravy on our turkey. We use French salad dressing. I first had turkey dinner at my boyfriend's house. I looked around for the gravy and was told they use French dressing. And I thought, oh my God, what kind of family is this? I tried it and never used gravy again. Lydia says, if I eat bologna, I have to fold it to take the first bite out of the middle, and then I work my way around the outside until it looks like a doily. And after that, I just eat it up. And my very favorite comes from Virginia. I conduct a beauty contest Hunger Games competition when eating M&Ms. First eaten are the blue ones, because blue is just wrong. Then the ones with the cracked or chipped shells. Then the ones with misprinted or partially missing letters. This thins the herd considerably. The rest get lined up and asked about their strategy for world peace and are consumed in reverse order of the stupidity of their answer. Alas, there is no happy ending, at least not for them. The winner is raised up to the cheers of the throng and then gobbled down. Friends, perhaps you have some comforting food rituals that help you in these times. It is these times that are good for comforting rituals. May you find your comfort.
I stumble.
Welcome to your art interlude portion of this worship service. In the beginning of this, I'm going to share with you some of the pictures and artwork that have been sent to me over this year that I have been doing my internship with you. And some of them are from different times of the year that show different seasons than maybe are relevant now. But because this is a community that lives and thrives throughout this year, I wanted to share with you some of the ones that I haven't been able to share with you before. So please enjoy. And also, I will be gone over the summer, and I would love that if you take any pictures of any artwork that you do or your grandkids' artwork, if there's something beautiful in your backyard or your front yard, any picture that brings you joy that you would like to share, please send it to me. And then when I come back in the fall, I'll have some beautiful messages in my inbox to look at and can share them with the congregation as we move forward together. Thank you, beloveds, for this wonderful year. Thank you for allowing me to bring and share my artwork with you. Now is the part of our worship service where we practice the spiritual practice of gratitude by offering donations to the ministries of this church and congregation. Kathy Smith will put in all the different ways that you can show your love for this community, for this liberal faith, for the work that we do in the world. We receive with deep appreciation your gifts of gratitude. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Donna Yelverton, the president of your Board of Trustees. The board met last Tuesday night, and we have some long-awaited news about reopening of the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge. As you know, the COVID safety team and the board have used a metric from the covidactnow.org website. We set the threshold of 10 positive COVID cases per 100,000 people in the greater Baton Rouge metropolitan area. However, given the recent trends and circumstances in this area, the board decided to change the threshold to 20 positive cases per 100,000 people. We are currently below that threshold, which means that we will begin to allow gatherings both indoors and outdoors with masks and social distancing, so long as that threshold is maintained. Now, Reverend Nathan Ryan is going to describe for you how the reopening process might unfold.
All right, first things first. The pandemic is not over. This is big news, and this is a hard decision the board made, but it does not mean things have ended. So if you think about a family as a vaccinated or an unvaccinated unit, half of this congregation, roughly, is an unvaccinated unit. And by that, I mean children do not have access to the vaccine yet, which means those parents are still an unvaccinated unit. So we're not, while we are safer than we've ever been and safe enough for the board to make this decision, and I agree with this decision, we still need to be careful, and we need to have you wear your masks, and as much as you're going to want to hug each other and all of that, we need to avoid it. So the staff needs roughly a month to get things ready. We've been doing roof repair and painting, and the chancel right now is set up. Well, you're watching this film during the chancel. This is my house. But the chancel is set up for filming. It's not set up for worship. There will be more about how to do this soon. Some things you should know. We will not have any wind instruments when we get back together to start. We will not do in-person singing. We will create an RSVP system, and we're still figuring out the exact number, but we're not going to have full capacity in the service. We're going to have limited capacity. Some of the other things, so much to throw on you. So are you all good? We already have advanced air filters in the air conditioning system. I cannot guarantee you that keeps you safe. We're going to spread out the chairs in where we have people sit in the sanctuary. We will do, coming back into the building is a big deal. A colleague of mine, she said, we've been holding stuff off for 15 months that each first time we do a thing, there's a lot crammed into that first thing. So the first time you shake a hand, or the first time you walk in the church, or the first time you go to a grocery store, there's all of the anxiety and fear and built up hope, and everything is built into that one event. So we are actually going to take this really slowly. And some of you may not like it, but it'll be okay. So we're going to do it slowly. We want to open the church first to just have you have an opportunity to be in the building. So we're going to do an evening, June 6th, where we're going to open up the sanctuary, invite you to go in one at a time, place a stone in the chalice bowl, maybe leave a blessing, and that's it. We'll be in the courtyard to greet you during that time. And then June 13th, we are going to start doing smaller worship services. So we're not going to do the full service. We're still going to prioritize online worship. At some point, we will shift. We will always now stream our services so that people have access. But there will be a point where we shift to prioritizing the in-person experience, and online will be supplemental. Right now, certainly while half of this congregation does not, as units, remember, family units, half of this congregation does not have access to the vaccine. So we are going to still prioritize the online experience. The in-person will be supplemental. The ways you reduce transmission is you wear masks. We're going to do that. You do it outdoors. We had that idea, but it's going to be too hot, so we're not going to do that one. So that's a strike. You have distance. We're going to do that. You reduce the crowd size. We're going to do that with RSVPs. You increase airflow. We're going to open the doors probably. And you reduce duration. So we're going to actually offer you worship services that in the short term, in the immediate, that are shorter than your regular services. We'll have more time to explore this. If we start going over 20, we looked at the COVID Act Now map, and every time we hit that 20 cases per 100,000 threshold, we started going way up. So if we go over 20, we're going to close down again. Most epidemiologists say the most important factor is vaccination rate. As of me filming this, which is Thursday, we were at 37% vaccinated in the parish, and that's the third most vaccinated parish in the state. So we are not at a safe point of vaccination. We are expecting that everyone in this church who can be vaccinated will be. But we are also expecting that there are a lot of people who do not yet have access. This is a big deal, and this is really exciting news. But just give it some time. The other thing, I should have scripted this, but we're pretending like this is live, so I'm doing it live. The other thing is we are only trying worship right now. No classes. We're going to get worship going. We're going to get it figured out. So we're not going to try classes or coffee hour or any of the other stuff. Give us some time to figure out how to do this safely, how to do it together as a congregation, and we're going to start adding other stuff on, okay? This is a big deal. This is exciting. Stay tuned. There's going to be more news on this very soon. June 13th will be June 6th and 13th. We're going to be the 2 times to start marking your calendars. I just bumped the box this was sitting on. I'm probably going to leave that in there because I don't know how I can cut it. Anyway, welcome back to Leslie's service this Sunday.
It is exciting to hear the news about a gradual reopening into the church building, isn't it? I know you have been waiting such a long time, and it's just around the corner. That slow, cautious, steady reopening sounds like a really thoughtful way to re-enter community space together, that we all stay healthy, holy, and here. Your amazing staff and lay leaders will be carefully crafting ways to re-enter and new ways to provide worship service to all of us. It has indeed been such a joy to be with you all in this crazy, wild ride of a pandemic. I have learned so much from you, and I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully in person, this fall. May you all stay dry. May you all stay committed to a just world. May you all stay committed to each other and to this faith of Unitarian Universalism. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
Take one more
Friends, beloveds, may the path that you walk be ever guided by justice and light. May you feel the light of love warmed by the sun this week until we gather again. Go now in peace and liberation.